You're listening to
They're going to call it a hard foul. They're going to call it a hard foul.
Real quick, post game, even though it's the next morning, reaction pod to the Celtics Heats game. They're going to call it a hard foul, part of the Fan First Network. Good morning, everyone. Celtics with a big win, Mike. And I think I hear like Amazing Grace or Ave Maria or one of those funeral songs because I think Heat culture is officially dead.
Yeah, it is. They stink.
Yeah, they that's it. Yeah, we can have the pot. They suck. It's like yeah. And I know they had Tyler Hero out and maybe someone else, but they are just incredibly and they have been for a while, but even more so now, just incredibly mediocre, and maybe even worse than that at this point.
Yeah, Celtics with 7 straight wins in their building now, going back to last year, and I'm assuming the playoffs as well. They're not what they were. They're not what they were just 2 or 3 years ago. They're pretty terrible. They got a ton of holes. They had a lot of open threes last night, and they just bricked them all. They're pretty terrible, Jim.
Yeah, they like I think they scored like 50 if you take away like the last 2 minutes of the game where it was complete like um cleanup time or whatever mop up duty. They had like 53 points from the end of the first quarter to about 3 minutes left in the fourth total.
Yeah,
And it never felt like, as soon as the Celtics, I don't think the Celtics played a great game, but that second quarter when Tatum was on the bench and the Celtics decided to turn it up just a little bit on defense for about 6 minutes, and it got their offense going, the game was over. It went from like a 10-point deficit to a 10-point lead, and it just never felt like at that point the Heat were ever going to come back. And kudos to that second unit to the Celtics for really coming in and doing the job, particularly, Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser. Derek White was part of that group. They really, elevated their play, brought the defensive intensity, got, deflections, blocks, steals, forced bad shots, and then on the other end, they moved the ball quite well. And I think the Celtics had like 15 points in about 4 minutes to start that second quarter. They were cruising, and that was your game. And then, of course, in the third quarter, Tatum took off. But I don't know. There's not a ton to say. I don't know if there's something in particular that stood out for you last night that you want to jump on, but it
it's
was
a great game by Hauser and Horford combining for 9 threes. Looks like Hauser's finding his shot, which when Hauser's hitting threes, the Celtics are a much different team. Same with Horford. They're really, really hard to cover offensively when those two are hitting their threes. And Hauser, all his shots looked spot on last night. To start the game, obviously, Al had a couple threes that were way short. Matter of fact, the entire team in that first quarter was just real flat.
yeah. What did
Um,
they start like 1 of 15 from three or something
yeah,
ridiculous?
they were 1 of 15 from three, and they weren't playing any defense. It was very stagnant, and I thought they were force feeding the ball to KP way too much. Again, with that offense, it's a little concerning how they come out sometimes when he's in the game. I don't know if I agree with go. I don't mind the above the break three with him, but they seem to really go to him a lot in the first quarter, and I don't know if that actually helps them find their rhythm as a team, other than stretching the opponent out. But yeah, they came out slow, but that second unit, they were great. They were rebounding the ball well. They were getting up in guys, and then the last two third quarters by Jayson Tatum, these last two games, something just really, really special stuff. And last night he was doing it all. He was hitting his threes. He was taking it to the basket. Miami clearly didn't have a guy on the floor that could cover him at all. And it's pretty stuff. I mean, he's hitting some difficult shots in the third quarter. 20 last night, and um, yeah, really. Maybe my bet for him to win MVP isn't going to look so bad because he's playing like one these last two games.
Yeah, he's got a long way to go there, but the last couple of games he sure has. Yeah, Miami, their scheme early, I thought kind of confused the Celtics and Tatum a little bit, where they went really big. When they brought Jokic, how do you say his name?
Jokic.
Jokic into the game. I mean, he's 6'10", was playing with Bam and Ware. They were huge, and they all three of them moved their feet pretty well. They weren't doubling Tatum like I expected. I just thought they were going to come out and trap Tatum, and this was going to be like a 10 assist game. They would show the help late, and by doing that, Tatum was kind of driving into a lot of size of settling for these long jumpers. And I think he was expecting the trap and ready to get rid of the ball, and it wasn't coming. And so he only had 2 points off of free throws. And to be honest with you, in that first half, even when he came back in the game, the Celtics played their worst basketball with him on the floor, which was, something you never see. And then, of course, in the third quarter, he seemed to know exactly what they were doing. And he attacked it fast. And he was able to get whatever shot he wanted. And, you're right, two third quarters in a row where he really couldn't be stopped. And you know,
He ended the game 2 games in a row. He put the opponent away basically on his own offensively. Um,
really, no, he did, and I expected, kind of at least in this game, Miami, once he started doing that, would have went to a trap, but they never really did, and he made them pay.
yeah, but the Heat stink. That's it. They're just terrible. They don't have shooting. Um, they don't move the ball well. They're just a really bad team. They're in a bad place, and they got to blow that thing up.
Yeah, you think that's the fun part of this whole thing, is that how bad Miami really is, and that he culture is dead, and the whole thing with Jimmy Butler, and I know that's all about Butler being a douchebag, forcing his way out when he had a $50 million option that he signed in the offseason, and then just quitting on his team. And I can't stand NBA reporters sometimes too, like praising him for his play in Golden State right now. I mean, are you kidding me? He quit on his team. Like you can acknowledge that he's playing well, but don't call him playoff Jimmy or this warrior or any of this type of stuff. He's a quitter. I mean, and that's how we should be seen now going forward. But as far as the rest of the Heat go, there's just not much there. I mean, Wiggins is a nice player. We said it on the pod yesterday, but he's limited on what he can do. Where looks like he has the potential to be a nice player. He really does look like Wemby's little brother too, doesn't he? Just the way he's,
Yeah,
yeah, and he moves his feet really well. Um, but and I know they were missing Tyler Hero, and they definitely could have used him last night, but the Celtics defense outside of that second quarter was not really super, and they needed shot makers, and maybe that would have made somewhat of a difference. But they just look like a dead ass team, and you know, I'm going to enjoy it because I don't get the sense that they have a direction right now, and this could be a team that's going to be mediocre for quite a bit.
yeah.
Anything else from that game? Anything that stood out from the Celtics side? I know you touched on the Porzingis stuff. I don't know. It doesn't feel like a ton to take away for me.
Celtics have won now 6 of 7. They get ready for a game tomorrow night at home against San Antonio. Should be a good game. San Antonio's been a little inconsistent even since this trade with Fox. Their offense has improved, but their defense is still pretty suspect. But Wemby certainly is an X factor and takes away the paint. So the Celtics will be, there'll be pressure on the Celtics to make a lot of outside shots. So that's a game to look forward to tomorrow, right before the All-Star break. Yeah, an insult to injury to Miami. I mean, yeah, Jimmy Butler is playing well. It looks like he's going to fit in well in Golden State, and it's very unfortunate. It's not what I wanted to see happen. I didn't want to see a guy quit on his team and then end up in a good place. And it looks like
Yeah.
he's in a really good place. So Golden State is certainly happy with the way that all worked out.
Yeah, as of now, I mean, it's like a bust a boom type trade. Like they're 1 2 week absence from Butler or Curry away from being well out of the playing game. Like if
Yeah, and
those guys
obviously
can,
Dallas
yeah,
lost. Yeah,
yeah, and that's a spot Anthony Davis puts Dallas in, right? Got to miss 12, 15 games. That could be this season. So like that's how the West is right now. It's not like the East where you've been able to be a shithead like the 76ers all season and you're still gonna somehow like finagle your way into the play-in. Um, but no, it was good, Mike. I don't know if you saw my blue sky post or I don't know what you call it. It's not a tweet. I imagine it's just like a post or a sky or something. But I wrote the Fed. There was one play late in the fourth where Rozier knocked over Porzingis, and I put out there if the Feds don't arrest Rozier for his gambling syndicate, then they should get him for abusing Porzingis. I thought that was
hmm.
pretty good, but I don't know. There's not a hell of a lot more to take from this game going forward. I'm looking forward. This is Wednesday's the game I'm looking forward to. I expect the Celtics to come out and play. Um, you heard Tatum's post game comments, which was interesting to me because this is the first time I feel like they've preemptively acknowledged how much they've sucked at home. Um, he said a couple of things that were interesting that I think we should hit on. The first, this one, where he basically said, you know, people pay good money. We haven't done a good job of performing there at home, and we got to go ahead and take care of it. And obviously, that it's not a direct quote, but that's basically what he said. And I was kind of thinking he may take the game off. That tells me he's definitely not taking the game off. Um, and I expect, with this new look Spurs and, all the attention that Wemby gets, that this will be a game that the Celtics are going to come out ready to play for.
Yeah, it feels that way, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It does.
Yeah, and the way Tatum's playing right now, I'm not surprised that he doesn't want to take this game off. And end this All Star break with a win. Enjoy your time off. Yeah, yeah, he did say some interesting stuff. I know they asked him a question about Luka in LA, and his response there was, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm not going to reflect on my time being a fan of Kobe. I'm a Celtic now, and I'm a Celtic fan, or something like that.
Yeah, he said, there's a lot of kids that like Celtics, that are Celtics fans too.
Yeah,
Um, I just kind of, I really like that in the sense of, where I'm focused on my business type thing. I'm winning here. We're putting something together here. I don't care if the Lakers get Luca or anyone else. You know, the top of the mountains right here in Boston. That's a message I got from it.
mm-hmm.
Uh, I know people might take away something else, but I thought those were, one, he was asked a question about the Luca and he answered it. And then the second, he preempted, I thought, with the home stuff. And it just feels like a guy that's kind of focused on what needs to be done.
Yeah,
And you've certainly seen it with the approach. And they are. The Celtics are playing much, much better basketball right now, too, obviously.
yeah. It looks like congrats to his father. It looks like he coaches overseas. Did you
Uh,
see that?
yeah, as coach of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, over
uh,
in Australia. Yeah.
Australia. Um, Interesting stuff. I had no idea.
Um,
Um,
so this is basically it. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. Uh, for sure with Wemby and those guys. Mike,
yeah, Jim, I was thinking about the advice you asked me from yesterday. I just want to put out there that it's hard to enjoy any Super Bowl halftime shows anymore after being a kid, and having access to seeing a booby on TV back when I was a child when Janet Jackson's boob fell out of her shirt when Justin Timberlake ripped her shirt off.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it wasn't that was like kind of pre-internet times, I think, for me as a kid. So I didn't have access to those things. So I don't think anything's ever going to live up to the boob halftime show.
Boobygate was a huge controversy.
It
Yeah,
really was.
that was a huge controversy. Booby fell out at halftime of the Super Bowl, and it was Janet Jackson. You haven't heard much from Janet Jackson in the last decade or so, but obviously, early 2000s, late 90s, she was as big can get. And maybe her pinnacle was when her boob was ripped out by Justin Timberlake, and that was the Patriots Panthers Super Bowl, I think, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty
Was it that
positive.
one?
I think it was, yeah. I thought it was, or it was the Patriots. It wasn't the Patriots Eagles. I'm pretty sure it was Patriots Panthers. Yeah.
All right, Booby Gate.
Mike, quick advice from you. Uh,
Oh, okay.
you are, kind of starting out your career. You're working out of a cubicle, and a new hire comes in, and this person has just they're the cubicle next to you,
Hmm.
and they just have a terrible stench every day. How do you handle this? What's the advice you give people? Do you talk to the person? Is this person going to end up in hell because of their stench? Do you go to HR? What do you do about this person who just every day you're in there with them smells like old cheese?
I think that's a huge problem, and I'd be passive aggressive at first with like just spraying my Lysol on my spray stuff all over the place throughout the day.
Yeah.
Like every time they sat down, I'd give it a spray, look at them. Um, and if it continues, there will be a conversation about what the hell's wrong with you and why do you smell like this? Um, this is a real problem. I think you have to confront it head on, because people like that, they don't leave. Problems always linger. You got to kind of force them out.
They don't really realize it, I don't think. There was an Irish guy when I used to work at a bar in Boston as a bar back in my early 20s, late teens. Um, he was a few years older than me, and he just had BO all the time. Like he didn't wear deodorant. And
Mm.
I would absolutely be passive aggressive. I'd just be like, "Oh my God, what is that? What is that?" And then it got to the point where I just like he'd start talking, I'd turn around and walk away mid sentence. 'Cause it was just so brutally bad. It felt like my nostrils were on fire. Uh, but it didn't work because of what you said. They didn't realize. So what's the next step?
You smell like shit. You got to do something about it. You smell. It smells around here. People got to get work done all day long. We got to sit in your stench.
You wouldn't go to HR and have them take care of it?
No,
No, you go.
no. I talked to because HR is going to be real soft and delicate about it. You
Yeah,
know, you got to go tell this person like, "Hey, you smell and it's gross."
yeah, I think.
Um,
And I mean,
oh,
honestly, if you're just starting your career, maybe it's like if it doesn't change and HR isn't doing anything, maybe it's just time to, go for you to find a new job somewhere else too. If it's
and some people have medical issues where they smell. You know, and if that's the case, I'd go to HR and I'd request a new desk. I don't want to sit next to, you know, friggin'
dumpster truck. Yeah.
yeah. I don't want to sit next to this fucking asshole who smells every day. Like that's gross. Yeah, you gotta take it on head on. And as far as going to hell, um, it all depends on why they smell this way.
Okay. Well,
You
like,
know,
what would be a reason they go to hell?
oh, you think about the different things that people can get involved with in their lives to smell like that in their free time, and maybe that has something to do with what's going on.
Be
Um,
specific because I was just thinking health and hygiene issues. I didn't realize
Uh,
there were certain things you can do to like are they just like rubbing garlic on their bodies? Like what would they be doing?
I don't know if they're into like furry activities in their free time.
Oh, okay. Like the guy that was arrested in Quincy a few years ago with the
You
dog.
know, like eating dog food and stuff, and then having crazy sex and stuff. You know what I mean? Furry
Okay.
costumes,
All
something
right.
like that. That might make you go to hell.
Okay. Well,
That's very sinful.
very sinful. Very sinful. We can't have that. No sense here in 2025.
I did have a kid one time. One of the programs I was working in, and I mean, this does speak to how people are raised and stuff. Uh, he smelled horrible, and like I had a conversation with him, and he opened up that, yeah, I take a shower, I do it like once a week, and I brush my teeth every other day. I had to take this person to a Walgreens and actually like buy the products with them and teach him how to use it. So that the guy at work that smells like that might be something, a little social work activity. Take him shopping for their products.
Well,
Um,
I
you know,
actually, it's funny you said that, and we should wrap this soon, but I was a supervisor and an employee's, their appearance and hygiene wasn't great. And there was someone else brought up their smell. And when I mentioned it to the employee, who was a male, the employee said, well, showering every day is bad for my hair.
you dealing with Paulie from The Sopranos?
I don't know. It was like it blew me away. It blew me away, and I'm like, so you come to work unbathed?
Well, they can put a thing on their head.
I guess, yeah.
Like the thing.
Wash your body somehow. Like I don't need to know the specifics, but um, the idea that you're waking up and going to work unbathed is pretty disgusting. Mike, we have a special guest, right?
We sure do, Jim. We sure do. You want to tease that?
Yeah, so we have a special guest coming on, and again, I'm gonna hold off on saying who it is because I don't want to put pressure on somebody in case something comes up in people's lives. But someone from a local radio station will be joining us on the pod soon to talk about the Celtics and what's going on. And then we actually have a couple special guests lined up, so it should be fun over this All-Star break. And Mike, I was thinking maybe you and I, and if we get someone else on with us, great. But maybe you and I do an NBA media pod over the All-Star break, and we break down how we think people are doing nationally, locally, and talking basketball and the Celtics.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that sounds good. I'm still blocked by Brian Windhorse. Twitter
Yeah. Oh God,
blocked me.
you got to listen to his most recent pod. Just the first 10 minutes talking about the Anthony Davis trade injury. He sounds like such a little bitch. Um, it's really bad. It's really bad. All
Yeah,
right.
he blocked me when I talked about him eating sandwiches or something like that.
Well, yeah, that's reasonable actually that he did. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.